Hello and welcome everyone, I'm Maddles and today I've got game number 1 of a best of 1 coming up. Now I've switched my overlays a little bit. I want to know what you think to them, if you like this new interface that I've got going. It's the new Game Hub one, so if you do like it, do just leave me a comment. If you don't like it and prefer the old version, let me know too, and then I can adjust, etc. But anyway, spawning down in the bottom left hand position as the red Zerg player, it's a GM, it's Snake. And his opponent up in the top right, the blue Protoss player, the foreign hope, none other than NaNiwa. So, a little bit of PvZ going to be coming up on the cards right now. What's going to be the result of it? We'll have to keep a good eye out, but looks like NaNiwa changed his mind there. He was going to go for a gateway expand and then switch the pylon position to go for some kind of forge fast expand. Maybe a Nexus first. A Nexus first, that would be really risky. But, yep, all looking good. Meanwhile, gas first opening from Snake. Could this be some cheese? Maybe it will be. Could it be some aggression? Definitely thinking so, because this is before the second Overlord. No more Overlords are in production, and the production tab is above and below player names, by the way, if anyone was a little bit confused by that. But yeah, spawning pool getting chucked down. Extractor early. This is some speedling aggression. So luckily for NaNiwa, he's gone for the forge first. That's going to help him tremendously in holding off any aggression that's going to be coming in. But he needs to get down the cannon. He needs to get the wall off. And if these speedlings make their sweet way over a little bit too soon, it could be slightly problematic. But anyway, as it stands, spawning pool still just chilling down here, having a bit of a fun time. Obviously once that's done up, things are going to be looking good. Probe still making its way forward. We've got the forge nearly finished. Nothing else coming down from NaNiwa as yet. He's scouting early, so it could be a cannon rush potentially. That could be what he's aiming to accomplish. But, well, he's pulling back. He is sending the probe down a little bit of an odd way. This could definitely be a cannon. So far, NaNiwa's seen that there's not a hatchery coming down yet, so he's probably thinking, hang on, what is going to be occurring? Maybe it's just a pull first. There should be a hatchery shortly. NaNiwa moving forward once again, gets another check, goes, okay, still no hatch. Still no hatch. What does that mean? Well, there's 6 Zerglings on their way out. We've also got the Fogan Cannon, though, coming back at home. That's going to help tremendously in preventing this. The probe coming up, being like, hey, what's up? What's happening, Snake? Are you trying to trick me with something? And well, the answer, most certainly, is yes. Those 6 Lings, though, have evaded detection for the moment. They went sneaky ways around. They are going to find the probe, though. Going to be busy taking that out. Unfortunately, the probe was minimal walking. Great control there from NaNiwa. And back at home, he's busy making up his wall off. He knows that if he gets a wall off in a good position, he's actually in a fairly good spot. A lot has been invested here with Zergling speed coming down. The drones from the gas have now been pulled. But all in all, NaNiwa should be safe to hold. He can definitely complete the wall off, and his cannon is done. So these 6 Zerglings probably not going to be able to achieve all too much. Speed still a little way off. Should be done relatively soon though, just kind of trickling through, but yeah, wall off can get finished up fairly quick. A second photon cannon and the wall off being completed. Second photon cannon is going to be allowed to finish up, which is quite interesting. Speed, as we can see, is getting pretty close to completion, 92 of 110 there, so all looking good. Cybercore is now on its way. This wall off is pretty much complete, and with the cannon there, it'd be very difficult to make something work, but there are 10 Lings down on the field, so it's going to be interesting to see whether they are going to be aggressive. There's no more in production. It's back to droning and the natural expansion coming down here for Snake. But NaNiwa, what's he going to do? His Nexus still isn't down, so he's not expanded. He's got the 2 gases up and is most likely just going to be trying to sit in a bit more of a defensive position, knowing that a lot was invested by Snake in this, potentially fearful of some Banelings following this up or anything along those lines. So that's second photon cannon, just playing things on the careful side for the moment. We can see in terms of income, well, there's a small lead for NaNiwa at the moment, specifically in the gas, just because he's mining off the 2 Vespian geysers compared to just the 1 of Snake. But all in all, with his Nexus now coming down, NaNiwa getting himself into a secure position for the mid-game and can now start thinking about what he's going to do. He's getting some sentries out, which will aid with the defense, but for the moment, the Speedlings just all coming back in order to deal with this probe that was off scouting to get some information for the Protoss. So, Snake, I think that he's probably in a bit of an awkward spot at the moment. He's down by 3 workers and his natural is still not down. Bear in mind that NaNiwa's is a little behind his. It's alright, but NaNiwa does have the tech advantage. He's got his Cybercore down, and obviously he's got a solid gas income, so I'm going to be very interested to see what comes out of this robotics facility. NaNiwa may opt just to go for something along the lines of a 2-base all-in, maybe getting a lot of Immortals and Sentries out, suspecting that Snake gonna try and take some risks in regard to getting down a couple of, or an additional 3rd hatch, just to make sure that he's in a really good spot economically. Maybe maybe NaNiwa will sit there and go, well, I know his economy's stuttering a bit, so I'm just going to go for as much economy as I can, try and take that greedy third. But all the timings have been knocked back by a minute or two due to the opening that Snake went for and how NaNiwa had to respond with these additional cannons and things. So for the moment, these Lings not going to be able to achieve too much here. We do have +1 researching, which indicates that we're probably going to be going for some kind of 2-base play, especially with that Immortal coming out, but it could still be some kind of quick third base. That's not out of the ballpark yet. If we see additional gates thrown down, which we are now seeing one more come down, this could be a bit more aggression, but with only 3 gates, and of course the robotic facility, it's too soon to call anything yet, but keeping a good eye on any more that do get produced. If we start seeing, say, like 5-6 gates out, that's when we can start calling it an all-in. But for the moment, just looking like we're going to get a nice little timing out of NaNiwa. May go and be a bit more aggressive. There's still no third base. Bearing in mind the 8-minute mark just ticked by. Snake is going to be struggling economically. He's up now in workers by 9, but he's only droning. He's having to be a little bit careful. And well, here comes 3 more gateways. And that takes us up to 6. 6 gates plus a robotic facility equals a mortal sentry all in with +1. Very strong push, and Snake without that third hatchery is going to be limited in the amount of lava production he has, and therefore his ability to defend it. With the Wall Prism 2, there's no need for a proxy pylon to be out on the map, and Snake really needs to identify this quite quickly. In terms of his vision, he hasn't seen the robo, he doesn't know much, and that's going to be punished by NaNiwa because he has got, well, a good push on its way. Infestation Pit is on its way down, so that's going to basically be more of a long-term game plan coming down from Snake. He does also have these 2 spines, but even if he went up to, say, like 4 spines, this push is incredibly strong against that. The War Prism trying to sneak its way through, avoiding any detection. Zerglings have been pulled back for the time being, and the Hallucinated Phoenix just trying to get as much information as possible. A Swarm Host now in production, and Static Defense and Swarm Hosts are very good at defending for a long period of time. But unfortunately, Swarm Hosts only really become scary to Protoss once there's sort of 6-8 minimum out. Before that, there just isn't the sheer mass of locusts to deal the damage before they can just get focused down. So with the War Prism coming in, with the gateways now all operational, and still Snake not really producing much other than Swarm Hosts, this push is going to come up against a front door that really doesn't have much defending it. Just a couple of Queens and 1 Swarm Host. In come the Queen Tumors. They're going to see suddenly, hang on, that is a big push making its way forward, and these Swarm Hosts are going to have their work cut out. The are moving forward, some good force fields will zone out one of the Queens and also the Locust. The Spine Call is doing an okay job, but the Immortals at the back just ploughing through them. The additional Swarm Hosts are going to help, and for the time being there is not an observer on the map, but force field still going down nicely, trying to zone out as much as possible, and all NaNiwa needs to do is take out this hatchery. Unfortunately, he has no Mothership Core with this army, so he's not able to mass recall, which means that he's probably going to lose most of this force. He does manage to pick up 1 Immortal and those 2 sentries before he retreats, but how much damage did he manage to do? Well, if we take a look at the units lost, 14 workers have been taken down compared to just 1 probe dying. So overall, that is a good little win there for NaNiwa, and with the natural base falling too, that leaves just a 1 mining base Zerg, but more critically, a Zerg with only 1 base's worth of lava production. So all looking good. NaNiwa confirms that there is no third base with the War Prism. He's going to be overjoyed with how this is going. Add in the fact that he does have the 2nd robotics facility and the robotics bay now down. Double Colossus production going to be starting imminently. Well, that's just going to be so beneficial because Colossi against a small group of Swarm Hosts, they're going to be very powerful. But the War Prism still just kind of poking and prodding around, trying to find any window of opportunity, maybe coming into the main base as all the Swarm Hosts are currently at the natural. But realizing that, Snake pulls back. He's going to try and get into a defense position in order to deal with that as best he can. But everything really looking fairly solid at the moment for the blue Protoss player. NaNiwa looking to be getting into a solid lead, especially with this double Colossus production. We can see that, obviously, with 2 of those coming out and the Stargate, he's just making a Swarm Host killing force. Bear in mind, from an income perspective, NaNiwa double the gas and about 2/3 of the, or so about a third more in terms of mineral income. He's just getting up a sizable force. We can see by the supplies that obviously these 2 getting in a good spot. Obviously these supply increases just going to really help. Good force fields there, wow. Blocking out a good couple of drones. Obviously, just keeping everything nicely tied up, not losing anything. That's what's probably the most important thing to note here. Sentries just kind of get dropped down the Immortal as well. Going to try and pick off a Queen, not able to do so at the moment, but look at this. We do have just an attempt from NaNiwa to try and get up that pylon. We'll need to take out that Overlord if he wants to, but the Colossus count is starting to skyrocket. Snake adding on more and more spines, not taking a third, and that lack of a third is going to start punishing him very soon. But there is the Spire on its way down, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little concerned for NaNiwa, because Snake, he's got 1,100 gas banked up, and if he got out a decent amount of anti-air, or a decent amount of air units, be that Mutalisks for example, it could be problematic. But now, with a great force field there and the Observer to give vision of the Swarm host, the main base is very exposed. Locusts are coming through, drones getting pulled. Snake, though, he is looking to be in a little bit of a tough spot. Corruptors trying to come out, but just so minimal staff at the moment. Snake is struggling to deal with that. Locusts, though, making their way in here. Gonna start powering down the Mortal critically, though, is able to stay alive for the time being. But with 5 Corruptors on their way out, these Colossi suddenly starting to look a little bit vulnerable. But NaNiwa has now seen the Spire. Bear in mind that he does already have 1 Stargate down and is getting 3 more. He is going to be getting out a lot of production very, very quickly. So with this, NaNiwa continuing on the pressure. He's still got the Observer there trying to deal with the Swarm host. Snake just doesn't have the money to resupply, but he's still only 9 armies or 9 total supply down. And with this War Prism getting chased away by the Corruptors, Snake spells an end to this current wave of aggression. But he's lost a decent amount of chunk. So is NaNiwa, though. If we look at what's gone down, quite a considerable losses on both sides, and well, what we don't really want to see is Snake NaNiwa doesn't want to see is Snake get up a 3rd base. So that's why this pressure is going to keep going, making sure it doesn't go through. The Stargate's now producing a lot of Void Rays all at the same time. I'm going to try and go for quadruple Void Ray production, because skill rays win games, as everyone knows. Still though, Zealots making their way in, gonna go head over straight towards the 3rd base. We do have a couple of links just running over the top. NaNiwa gonna go and check just for any kind of 3rd attempt, and as you see, Snake is gonna go and try and throw that down relatively soon. The drone's there and he's got enough money, so we'll get started. But these Zealots moving in, catching this hatchery very early in its production, just means they'll probably be able to snipe it out, since there's only Swarm Host Corruptor. But in now come these Zealots. A cancel almost certain to go down. There we go. The drone unfortunately dies in the process. And while there's a decent number of Swarm hosts here, NaNiwa just so many Void Rays, identifying the fact that there's only Corruptors in the form of anti-air currently. He's in a good spot. However, 5 Infestors are on their way through, and that's going to be powerful. Those Infestors open up the option to fungal growth a lot of that air army. And if the Void Rays get chain fungal, that's where problems could occur. But NaNiwa still mining only off of 2 bases, his main getting very low, is just happy saying that, okay, my opponent is still on 2 bases, so if I keep him that way, I'm still in a good economic spot, being on equal bases as a Zerg player. Plus my army, in terms of value, is skyrocketing. Just in terms of the resources in there, Snake does have a decent number of Swarm hosts now. That's the only concern. 7 of them on the field. Add in the fact that there's now, 9 Swarm hosts now on those 5 Infestors. It's a fairly strong force. Zealots once again going to be checking to see if there's a 3rd base there. NaNiwa knows that the critical piece of the puzzle is that he does not allow that 3rd base to be secured. If he stops that, he's actually in a pretty solid position. He's got a huge number of Colossi now, sitting up at 5 of them, about to be going up to 7 as well, and that's when he's got a very strong force. Add in the 5 Void Rays already there with more in production, add in the +2 is getting research for the ground. The Overseer may have seen all the Stargates, but is that going to be enough? There is the Observer ready and waiting. Is there any Overseers? There are 2. They need to really try and help get rid of that Observer. If that goes down, NaNiwa does only have the 1, so it's going to be... oh, sorry, no, he doesn't. He has 4 now. They're all scattered around, but not coming with the army, unfortunately. He needs to bring these 2 Observers over, just to make sure that he's got sustained detection in case one gets sniped out by Overseers. But Void Rays now positioning their way around, a lot of Speedlings waiting at the 3rd base location. An incredibly defensive position from Snake for the time being, but NaNiwa got the army in order to deal with this. He's moving on up and in. He has got those 5 Colossi, remember. 2 more are on their way. That's going to make things even more scary. The Void Rays going to just aid in the DPS. Spinecrawl is attempting to move forward. Extended Thermal Lance has been researched, though, +1 upgrades to no upgrades of Snake. NaNiwa rushing through. The fungal growths are going to have to be absolutely spectacular. Corruptors trying to come in to engage the Void Rays, but with Prismatic Alignment, those Void Rays deal an insane amount of damage. They are trying to work down all the Corruptors, but there may just be a few too many. Stalkers trying to make their way through too, just aiding in picking these off, but the Colossi still going strong. Where is the detection though in this army? Well, there's still those 4 Observers down, but yep, 1's still there, so the Swarm hosts are now getting taken out. And with that, the Colossi starting to reign supreme. Snake not looking to be in a favourable position for the moment. The Corruptor's going in for one last attempt, but the Stalker's doing a great job of taking them out. If Snake loses this third hatchery, it's pretty much, second hatchery, it's pretty much GG. And NaNiwa, with all of his Colossi up, is looking to be in an astoundingly good position. The Corruptor's still trying to work through those Colossi, but it's going to be too little, too late. And with that, Snake GG's out, and NaNiwa will take the game. So I hope you all enjoyed that. If you did, make sure that you like the video, leave a cool comment, and of course I'd love to know your feedback on this interface. Do you prefer that, or do you prefer the standard Game Heart interface? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be back tomorrow with yet another new cast.